Guys, it is Ben, aka the Fuseboxx. It is yet another episode of Fuseboxx Engaged. And today we're going to be checking out a campaign currently funding on Fund My Comic called Phenomenon issue number 2. And I have got the creator here with me himself, Patrick Quinlan.
What's up? How you doing?
What's up, bud? How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man.
No, thank you. I've been trying to get more guests to come on. So, I mean, anybody who's got a book. And I mean, I've been checking out your campaign and the artwork looks amazing. And
Thank you.
the little bit I was reading so far, it sounds very interesting and unique.
Thank you. That's the main goal, I would say, is, you know, there's a lot of stuff going out there these days. A lot of people do comics, obviously, especially independent. And I find that there's a lot of stuff that's not, it's all kind of, it's reskins of like bigger IP versions of things, you know?
Yes.
And my main goal for this book was essentially to like make something that people had never seen before.
Oh yeah.
So that's my main goal. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. This music is sick too. Nice and funky. Oh yeah, it's funky time.
Well, I wanted to add a little ambiance to the show, so it's not just my voice and all, you know. But
sorry, I dropped out there, I think.
Oh, no worries. You know, so I want to get to know you a little bit first. So, like, tell me about you. Like, where are you from? What got you into comics, or did you do? I saw a little bit on your bio that you're into music.
Oh yeah. So essentially, how did I get into comics? Well, there's a difference between when I started doing comics and when I started loving comics. When I was a kid, I was really all into Star Wars. I was obsessed with Star Wars. In fact, that's how I learned the word obsessed. My parents were like, "You're obsessed with Star Wars," and I was like, "No, I'm not. What does obsessed mean?" And they're like, the only thing you ever think about or talk about is Star Wars. And yeah, you know, you've got like this encyclopedic knowledge of the old canon, you know, like the real canon.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, you're done with Star Wars. And it would, like, you know how it is when you're a kid, it shattered my life. I was like, what am I gonna do without Star Wars? And
Lord.
we went to I was homeschooled as a kid, so like in grade school. So my mom took me to the library with my siblings, and she saw the comic book aisle. And she said, just go down that aisle and find a comic book. And I was like, I don't even like comic books. Like, I don't like any of this. The most I'd ever come close to was I got a coloring book of Spider-Man. And I really liked that. You know, I like the Green Goblin especially. Like, he was my favorite person to color. Or as we say now, because it's 2025 and coloring things is it's offensive to some people. You know what I mean? So chromatically enhancing things.
Well, I mean, Derek would disagree with you. But,
What's up, Derek? How you doing, man? And hello to Adam Weber and Rosario too. Nice to see you guys.
yes, indeed.
They show up on my channel a lot too, so it's nice to see them. So yeah, she sent me down the aisle, and it's funny. The first thing I picked up was like a Plastic Man comic, and there was like, I picked it up, and there was some like nudity in it. Like there was a woman like taking a shower, and Plastic Man was like spying on her or something. And anyway, I brought that to my mom, and she was like, "No, go get something else." So then I went back, and I found the Essential Fantastic Four #1, and I didn't really know anything about them or Marvel or anything, but I was like, oh, this looks cool enough. And I picked it up and I read the whole thing in like 3 days. So I went onto the library website and I was like, Essentials Volume 2. Like, you know how you can request things from the library to get them sent to your branch? And so that's what I did. And so as a kid, I essentially got as many comics as I could from the library and read every single one. Loved comic books. Got into high school, moved more into like theater and music and stuff. And then when I got to college, it was, I don't know, something reignited. I guess it was also probably the MCU was really taking off at that point.
Oh yeah.
So I was, okay. I knew a lot of things about comics that most people, my friends, didn't know. So I was the guy. You know what I mean? Like after the movie was done, they'd be like, was that in the comics, or what happens next? And so I was that guy back then, and it brought me back to kind of like my my roots in my childhood of like loving comic books so much. And actually, I loved comic books so much when I was a kid. Sorry, I'm trying to backtrack here. That I made my siblings. So it was my brother Joseph, my sister Mary Grace, myself. We made our own comic book and our own superhero team. And my guy's name was Pumpkin Man. And he essentially, his power was that he had detachable limbs that would grow back, but when he threw them, they would explode. Don't know why that was his power, but that's what it was. So
They
anyway,
have to explode.
Yeah, right. They have to. We did a little bit of rebranding though for Pumpkin Man. Interestingly enough, I had him. He was my character for like 2 years when we were kids, and then we were like, "No, you know what? We're gonna change him to Jack O'Lantern. His name's gonna be Jack O'Lantern now." So he got a rebrand. He actually the character himself, his secret identity changed. His costume changed. And so we made Jack O'Lantern after that. And anyway, long story short, I come to college, and I'm now all this superhero stuff is actually popular now. So now I'm like kind of the cool guy because I know all the superhero stuff.
Yes.
And that was cool. The girls didn't seem to think so, but girls, that's the way girls are.
They like them now, especially Fanta.
Oh, Fanta. Oh my God. You told me, Fuseboxx, that this was gonna be like a relaxed show, a chill show, and now you brought my arch nemesis on here. Fanta, I can't help but notice that on Twitter I posted today that Chris Cornell was the best there were like 4 different grunge singers, and you didn't say anything. I think you think Lane Staley's better than Chris Cornell. That's what I think.
Fanta and we were always chill. I didn't hear about a nemesis system here.
Yes, Fanta is my arch nemesis on the internet and across all of time and space. So, it's one of those things.
I mean, when you have a nemesis, that means you've made it.
I know.
That means you are truly a hero when you have a villain.
Exactly. So that means she's the villain, and she is the Dark Angel too. You know what I mean? Like, kind of villain vibes there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm neutral. I'm like Switzerland. I don't.
You're hollowed out with bunkers for the elites when the eventual geophysical event comes. That's the Switzerland, right? Okay.
And we don't have a nuclear arms program,
right? So yeah, Fanta, stop trying to derail this interview, okay? God. Anyway. So yeah, essentially what happened is I love comic books. I even actually, when I was in college, I wrote I wanted to work for Marvel at the time. This was when Marvel was, so this was like 2013. So the whole all new, all different thing was only kind of just becoming a thing. The replacing all the legendary characters with alternate lesser versions of them hadn't really happened yet. And Marvel was still pumping out good stuff. I mean, like the last big thing they'd done at that point was that I remember was Civil War, and Civil War was fantastic. I like Civil War a lot. I know a lot of people don't like it, but personally I think it's really cool. And so I wrote actually a Deadpool comic, and it was called Amateur DP because I was an amateur. And I think it's pretty funny still to this day. I've got the notes over there, but you know how it is. You write it and then you move on with your life and you do other things. And I even like storyboarded it and everything. And then I moved on to other things, got a full-time job, didn't have time for a lot of stuff. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, essentially what it did was, it was a combination of 2 things. All of my friend group, essentially because I didn't agree with their opinions on what COVID was, they ghosted me. Essentially, they abandoned me.
Oh,
so I was completely alone and in lockdown then. You know what I mean? So literally all I had was like my kickboxing gym, and at that point, if I'm being brutally honest with everybody, it was pretty much just like FNT, Eric July. I was really, really, really big Eric July fan, and
I think a lot of us were.
yeah, I mean, back in the day. So from Eric July, I heard about Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate, and so I looked into that. And the first thing I thought when, listening to his streams, I was like, oh, this guy's a narcissist. Like, I don't want to, but I don't want to listen to this all the time. So I listened to him for like a few months, and then I was like, I'm done. So I spent a year not listening. And then I don't know exactly what happened, but I started listening again, and I was like, no, wait a minute. Like it's not so much. A lot of people assume that when somebody's very charismatic and when they're very talented and they know that and they express that about themselves, like they're aware of their talent, they think that person is a narcissist. And I think that's what I had fallen into. And then it came to pass too that there were several issues that had come up in the independent comics scene where he was the only person saying like the truth. Like everybody else was kind of beating around the bush. Or I think the biggest thing for me was that I spent, 2-3 years giving money to FNT, giving money to Eric July, super chats and all that stuff. And it dawned on me that those guys aren't even really, and I'm not trying to I don't know what your opinions are specifically about these things. So I'm not trying to,
I think it sounds like we're kind of on the same wavelength, because it's like, I was a fan of theirs for a good while, but the big thing I was noticing was it's like they're commenting on everything that's wrong with media, but they're not presenting an alternative.
Right.
And that kind of bugged me. And it was like, I liked guys like EVS and CG because they were like, okay, y'all don't want us in mainstream comics, fine, we're gonna make our own.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that attitude of like, we're not just gonna sit by and complain, we're gonna create something.
Right. I mean, and that's a huge portion of, I mean, you can look at the way things are now, and I would wager the way things will be in the near future, those people will not break into the mainstream. And the reason why is because it's not, for them, it's not about the beauty of the art form. It's not about comic books. It's not about, to some smaller degree, it might be about, their childhood loves have been dashed and ruined by people. And so there's kind of like a revenge thing in it for them. And I understand that. Yeah. I get that. Because, I mean, seeing your favorite things ruined in front of you is something that really hurts people. Like things, your childhood loves. And so I understand the revenge aspect, although at the same time, revenge never really gets you where you wanted it to get you. Like revenge is a destructive thing. It's not a constructive thing.
Yeah.
And so you'll never get those things that you loved back by revenge. The only thing you can do is create something new.
Exactly.
And so, I saw Comicsgate doing that. I saw a group of people, not all of whom agreed with one another, not all of whom thought the same things as one another or had the same religion as one another, but just a group of people who at least thought one thing in common, and that was, two things in common, rather. Freedom of speech and, doing right by the art form, the beautiful, traditional American art form of Western comic books. And I thought that was amazing. I thought that was one of the coolest things, because when I really thought about it, yeah, I mean, comic books they're an American art form. There's something that we brought to the world that wasn't really, I mean, I guess you could say pictures with words has always been done throughout history. Not the way America did it.
Right.
That's kind of the story of America, I guess. Lots of things have been done before, but America perfected a lot of those things.
Amen.
And so for me, it was just like, I saw those people doing their thing, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. And it also seemed to me to be more of a legitimate way to get there, because, you're listening to FNT and Eric July, people who have huge fan bases, and they can just say, I'm going to make a book. And a lot of people are going to be they're going to be inclined to purchase it just because they like that YouTuber. And to be honest with you guys, I hate YouTubing. I hate it. Oh my God. I hate being the concept of like being a content creator. I can't stand it. You have to engage in it in some way, to get people to, well, first of all, to show people who you are, to let them know, to see your face and to hear the way you talk so that they can, for themselves, decide if you're a trustworthy person or if you're a scumbag. And it just, so I was kind of forced to do the YouTube thing. I kind of got just sidetracked there. But the point
I'm
is,
sorry.
No, it was my fault. I'm horrible with tangents. I'll get on a tangent and I'll just and then forget about the main thing we were talking about.
Tangents are a good thing on YouTube.
Well, thank you then. Then I've done a service then.
I have a love-hate relationship with being a YouTuber. Like there's times where I feel kind of like I don't feel like doing it, but then when I do it, it's like my inner ego comes out. I'm like, I'm the star of the show.
Yeah,
I have so much power right now.
I will. Excuse me. I will 100% admit that too. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there are times where I'll go on like Katie's show, and she'll like accidentally drop out because her internet's gone or something. Yeah, and I'll be like, yeah, it's my show now. You know what I mean? I just decided to like be the host of the show. It's fun to be a host. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. Because you can kind of sit back. You can just like say one thing and then just sit back and watch people talk. If you got a good panel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
part of why I like doing interviews is that I don't have to ramble on and on.
Exactly. Because you can just trust that I'll ramble on and on.
And I'll just add in some saucy commentary here and there.
Exactly. So let's see, where was I? Comicsgate. I got into so it was about, I would say, a year and a half, maybe 2 years into COVID. Everything was still going down. All my friends had abandoned me, and as strange as this may sound, this is the truth. So why bother not telling what the truth is? I was at my workplace, and I work at a car dealership in the service department. So the garage doors were open, and it was August or something, and the leaves, like the brown and orange leaves, like flew across the garage bay door. And I don't know what it was, but at that point, I was just like, oh, like I got to get started. I got to go right now. Like I got to get this comic going. And so I spent, let's see, what year is it? 2025, and my last book was 24. So I spent 2021 to 2023, probably mid, yeah, like up to early 24, writing essentially 330 pages of this comic book, which obviously is separated into issues. But I wanted to do this thing that I hadn't seen before, where you tell a kind of like Attack on Titan, Game of Thrones style epic. With multiple different characters. You don't know who's going to live or die. You maybe like all of them or none of them. Some of them are shitbags. Some of them are really cool people. And it's not really by what side, what faction that they're associated with that you decide as an audience member, like, is this person a moral person or not? It's more off of their personal choices and the things that they do within the context of the story. I wanted to do a story like that and have something that was long form and ongoing that would eventually be like, this big. It's one story, but it's like this thick, like an omnibus essentially. And there's other motivating factors for why I've written this story that I have, but I can't disclose them at this time, because if I were to disclose them, it would kind of destroy the whole purpose of the comic book.
I get that.
What I can say is that people have had experiences in their lives. A lot of people, when they experience something very intense, very important to them, it changes their life entirely. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this comic. Not like my comic is going to change people's life. We're going to, you have any idea how many lives I'm going to save with my comic? No, it's not like that. It's more like, hopefully not like physical lives, but souls, more like but the main purpose is like, I want people to come to an understanding of something by themselves that it's a thing that I want them to come to an understanding of. So yeah, it is selfish a little bit that there's an idea that I have that I want other people to think too, but you'll never, like, I can't just tell people to think it or like, hey, this is why you should think it. So instead I was like, oh, I'm going to tell a story, and this story is going to be entertaining and fun. It's going to have action, lots of action. Unlike modern comic books, which are just like, everything leads up to an action scene, and then you have literally one page of people aggressively posed towards one another, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the action scene. It's like, no. No. I want to see teeth knocked out. I want to see, you know what I mean? So that's kind of my goal for this comic book, was to make something that had never been seen before within the context of the aesthetics of the IP. As far as I'm aware, no one has ever done a like post-apocalypse Soviet Union superhero book is the the best way I could phrase that. I don't think anybody's ever done anything like that.
That might be the greatest phrase ever uttered.
Post-apocalypse Soviet Union superhero book. The closest I would say anybody's ever gotten was Mark Millar with Red Sun, if you've ever read that.
I know of it. I never read it though.
Dude, fantastic. And like the cartoon is good, but it doesn't have the same ending as the comic, and the comic's ending is like, I don't want to give it away, so you should check that out when you get a chance. I don't even like Superman.
Superman's one of those characters where it's like, I love the concept, but it's really difficult to do a story of him that's like super engaging.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of like Smallville, but like in terms of, yeah, like I think he's pretty much the cookie cutter superhero in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing for sure. I mean, Superman fills a hole that a lot of things don't fill and couldn't adequately fill as well as Superman. It's the same way, like my favorite team obviously is the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four are like wholesome, family-friendly, wild sci-fi adventures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to see the Fantastic Four, you know, in a kind of deconstructionist environment where, I don't know. Long story short, that whole blue sky comic book thing, it's necessary and it's needed. And I think that I laud people who continue to do that, because these days there's no blue sky superhero stuff, you know, nothing like that. So good on people who do that. At the same time, that's not what phenomenon is.
Well, Derek disagrees with our Superman takes.
You both lost me on Superman. Well, what? Because I don't like him, Derek? I'm sorry. I guess I don't like him for me, it's a standpoint of like, he's too powerful. And that lends itself to the stories that are told that work for Superman, which is the point of it, which is fine, which is great. But I personally just don't like, I need my characters to have, any of my characters to have that fear of mortality. And I just
I agree with that.
Feel like that was there with Superman. That's I just don't connect to it that well, you know?
Well, like what I think what people kind of get out of Superman, that's what I got out of classic Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
It was that was what I felt with Goku, was that whole like he's all righteous and he's so powerful that like all the assholes that come after him, like he's just got that stoic look on his face and he makes them look like fools, like.
Mm-hmm.
And but the thing about Goku though compared to Superman is that Goku, I would argue, he's more mortal, because like with Superman you have to have kryptonite to beat him, otherwise he's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And Goku was more like, he was supposed to be, even though he was an alien, he was still kind of a semi-regular person who trained and got super strong. But, you know.
And he had to go through struggle to get stronger.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is cool. I like that a lot. That's really cool.
And Flip City is making an innuendo here. And
No, she never does that. Oh my god.
all of the children watching this show right now have been corrupted.
That's right. Do you have any idea what you've done to the future of our society by that comment there, Christy? Come on.
We here at Fuseboxx Entertainment and Patrick Quinlan's comic book company, we don't approve of violence or sexual content or cursing of any kind.
Right. All that language, keep that fucking shit out of here. It's disgusting.
It's just wrong.
Derek, I don't know. My brother Michael, my oldest brother, really, really loves Superman. It's his favorite character. I'm
a fan of Smallville. That was a great show. Like, that show had me hooked. Even though it was a CW teen drama, it still had me hooked.
I never got to watch that one. It was before, not before my time. It was when I was too young for my parents to allow me to watch it, I guess is the right way for me to say it. You're right there. To be honest, Derek, what happened to me was that I never had access to DC Comics. If you want to blame anything, for me at least, it was that I could go to the library when I was a kid and get all of the essentials. I could get Hulk, I could get Spider-Man, I could get Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers. I could get all of those, large packets of all of the old 60s comics, 20, 30 of them at a time. But I'd never found that for Superman or Batman. So maybe that's a contributing factor. I don't know. That's true. But the problem is these days they don't want him to be relevant to kids, because what he would do is provide like a strong moral base for children, and that's something that the companies are not big fans of.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like there was that run where Superman's son was going around and protesting for the climate and
right.
Show it, being LGBTQ IRS.
The funny thing is too, like, it's not like there haven't been differing sides of the political aisle expressing their opinions through comics for a long time. People are like, comics have always been political. They haven't really been so heavily political, but people have expressed, their politics through their comics many times, over and over. But it was never something that, one, was to the detriment of the story, or two, the character, or three, the realism, if you want to call it that keeps you embedded within the story. So you got, like you said, Superman's son, he's going around, protesting climate change, except that he's Superman's son. So if he wanted to change the climate, he could just do it. Like, he could just do it.
That was the exact thing I thought when I saw that cover. I'm like, he has the power to fix the climate.
Right. I mean, it's like Storm. Like, what if Storm started complaining about climate change? Storm, come on. Oh my gosh.
I would say, like, when I was younger, I didn't get into superhero comics until I hit like my early 20s. When I was younger, I was all about slice of life comics like Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes.
Really?
Those were my thing. And the comics I made when I was a kid were little just slice of life, like, oh, we're just kids hanging out with our friends and skateboarding, and oh, these two cutesy little characters. And I was kind of doing like a weird, I guess, kind of retro fit of like that show Recess.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, it's been so long.
So I would agree that Garfield is a fantastic comic.
I was a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. I got a lot of those collections.
Oh yeah,
when I was a kid. Very funny, very, very funny. Did you ever? I know it's not kind of slice of life, but did you ever read The Far Side?
I did, like, a little bit. I didn't do the Sunday comics that much, but like I remember seeing little bits of it, but I can't remember most of it for the life of me.
That's a funny comic. If you ever get the chance to pick up like a collection, because they're all just like one panel jokes essentially. you ever get the chance to pick up a Far Side comic, I'd recommend that. It's funny you mentioned Sunday comics, though. They don't even have those anymore, do they? I mean, I haven't looked at a paper.
I doubt it.
Forever.
I don't think. Yeah, like most print media is dead when it comes to news. Like, I know my town still has a newspaper that it publishes, but we don't get it. Yeah.
Gotcha. I just, there was a point in my life where my parents, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch is what our paper's called. It was so egregiously politically slanted in one way that my parents were like, we're done. We're done with that. And it was like the end of the world for me, kind of, because like I would collect. There was a 3-panel Spider-Man weekly in there, and
oh dang,
it's funny because like I remember reading that 3-panel weekly for like a year, and it was still the same lizard story. Like, it was horrible because it killed me as a kid. It made me so mad, but like it's all the Spider-Man I could get, all the new Spider-Man. So I soaked it up. I would cut them out of the paper and paste them on a page so that I could like follow the story linearly. Except that the first panel of each weekly would recap what happened last week. The middle panel would be something new, and then the last panel would be what gets recapped the next week. And so it was just like, don't recap it. Just What's up, Skelly? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. And Flady and Katie. There's so many people here. And Christy. Not Fanta, though. Fanta can...
Fanta and I, we go back. She was making comments on my channel when I was being roasted by Rose. So
Nice.
Rosetta.
She never comes on my channel. I think it's because she's afeared for her life. You know what I mean?
Hey, I mean, she hadn't been in the chat for a while, but when she saw you coming today, she came in. So
yeah, she knew she wanted to screw this whole thing up. That's what it was.
I think she just wants herself a copy of Phenomenon 2.
Well, she got Phenomenal Tales #1, which was so I have 2 comic books right now, 2 series. One of them is Phenomenon, and the other one is called Phenomenal Tales, and they're in the same universe.
I heard of that one.
Yeah, Minotaur. That one is.
I just remember the name.
Yeah, that's
okay.
This comic right here.
Ooh.
Illustrated by the same guy who does Phenomenon 2, colored again by Peter Gilmore, and so yeah, I mean I've got a good team that I've got here, and obviously letters by Eric Weathers. You go hard or you go home is really what it comes down to.
He's currently assembling the print file for Outlaw Nights issue 2.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think it's about time we show off this campaign.
Would you like me to share it, or do you want to share it?
Whichever you prefer.
Here, I'll go ahead and share it here. Okay.
Nice.
Would you mind? I want to play the trailer if you wouldn't mind. Could you pause the music real quick?
Absolutely.
Sorry, see, this is what I do, man. I go on to people's shows and then I like act like it's my show.
Oh no, no. There have been people who have come on and they're like, yeah, look, I don't want the music. Turn it off.
Turn that shit off, man.
And I'm a pushover. I'm just, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
That music was groovy. The people were digging it, weren't you guys?
I love it.
Okay, so this trailer, actually done by Von Claus. It's a fantastic trailer, so let's check it out. I can already tell this is going to be a problem, so I'm going to reduce the quality. I'm going to reduce the quality even more.
I could share it on mine if you want.
if it works on yours, that'd be cool too. Gosh. And that music too, the background music, my brother Joseph and I wrote, and Joseph recorded it on his synthesizer.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, indeed.
Yeah. So the quote on there, I have a quote for every issue that comes out of Phenomenon, and they're all taken from different songs. We haven't even gotten into the music side of things yet, but I was in the St. Louis music scene for about 10 years, and so music is a very, very important part of my life. And so the line for this, essentially the theme for this issue is, thank you, Derek. I appreciate that, man. The theme is, if you're fighting to live, then it's okay to die. The answer to your question is welcome to tomorrow. And that's a line from a song, which hopefully some eagle-eared person in the chat will know what song that's from. And actually, my first comic book, Phenomenon #1, opened with a different line by Soundgarden, song from Soundgarden. So, so yeah, anyway, that's something that I like to do with my comics. Essentially, folks, Phenomenon is the story. It's a story about a revolution that is occurring in the Soviet Union. Now, in real life, the Soviet Union obviously ended in the early 90s due to the combined efforts of, essentially Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II. But that's a different story for a different time. The point is that the Soviet Union ended back in that time. But the problem is, in my universe, in 1972, the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a nuclear war. And so for the past 25-ish, 28 years, because we're in 1999 in this issue, so it's 27 years. Sorry, my math is not good. Christy, I can't. You, Soundgarden. I'm gonna pretend she didn't say that. Fana, take care of her for me, please. And at least I can trust Fana for that. So I'm sorry. So nuclear war happened in the 70s, and because of that, the geopolitical landscape that we understand in modern day didn't occur. The technological landscape that we understand in modern day didn't occur. Like I said, this is set in the year 1999. The Soviet Union is still in full force in Russia and across all of the neighboring satellite countries. Well, not all of them, but we'll get into that. And so what has happened is it's kind of reverted back to a Cold War. There was a Cold War, and then there was a very short hot war, about an hour long, and now there's another Cold War where both countries have spent the past approximately 30 years trying to rebuild themselves, get themselves back up to a point where they can actually, combat one another once again. So to that end, the Soviet Union has they've given a bit of money to a brilliant scientist. If you scroll down a bit, you'll be able to see him.
Yeah.
Or am I in control? Or you're in control?
Oh, no, I'm in control.
Okay. So this guy in the green here with the mask on and everything, this is the brilliant, the most intelligent man on the planet as far as we're concerned in this issue. The most intelligent man in the Soviet Union, his name is Diamond. That's what his code name is. Artyom Gluchovsky is his real name, but most people in America can't pronounce Russian names. So I've given all of them code names to, make it easier on people. That's Minotaur right there. That's
I thought it was the same guy.
No. That guy right there is the brilliant Soviet scientist Diamond. And essentially, nobody knows really how he did it. One day he was just kind of a regular grenadier in the Red Army. He was just kind of a regular dude. And then over the course of a few weeks, he started showing signs of brilliance and just absolute, like he's capable of engaging in any different facet of science and mastering it, essentially. So he went into biogenetics and a serum that gifts people with abilities that most people are just impossible. Um, so last issue, phenomenon number 1, he tested his serum on the first 3 test subjects, at least the first 3 that we're aware of. And so this right here, this lady here is Blue Rose. Her name is Rosa Delgado, which, as some people might realize, is not a Russian name. She's actually, her father is from Venezuela and her mother's from Russia, but she's been raised in Russia. So
I love the detail. I love all the I love it when a story gets like super complex with like geopolitics, and then like the characters have their, it's like, okay, her father's from Venezuela, her mother's from,
Mhm.
that makes it so much more dynamic for me.
Well, I mean, it has to inform the story. I mean, I briefly mentioned this, but when I went to college, I did a lot of, in high school and in college, I did a lot of theater, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Me
And
too.
I was very, I was, I like, I like to think I'm a pretty good actor, and it's
Me
because,
too.
see, so, but you know how it is. Then you're given a character, and you're given lines, and the lines mean nothing to you at first. They're just lines. They're just like, okay, what is the, you've watched TV, you've seen
Yeah.
people in certain circumstances, and you're like, okay, so this is, I guess, how people would respond in certain circumstances. But the real actor goes, wait a minute, like, why does this character say this? What does he think? Why does he think that? What was his childhood like? What is his favorite color? What is his what events led him to the feelings that he has right now? All of my characters, what I did was I did that actor's method of, I took a step back and I wrote entire backstories and biographies for all of them. All of them. Even the ones who, literally, there's a dude in issue 1 called Grin. He's got one of the sickest masks, by the way. He's one of the counter-revolutionary, like as they're called by the Soviet Union, the terrorists, the guys who are revolting against the Soviet Union. So naturally, they're called something horrible like terrorists. But I have a whole backstory. I have a page and a half of backstory for Grin, and he dies in the very first issue. So it's like, but I do that for everybody because to me, that's what makes it real. That's what, like, when I'm writing dialogue for people, that's how I know, okay, this guy's going to respond this way. He's not going to, he's not just going to say some generic bullshit. Like, he's going to say something that would indicate that this is kind of the way that he is and the way he was raised or whatever. And so like Blue Rose, for instance, a good example of this. And we're going to find out this in the comic as we go along here. Her father, obviously, well, not obviously, but her father was a very, very, very talented and infamous Spetsnaz agent for the Soviet Union. And he did a lot of what they would consider great things for them. He's a hero. So Blue Rose grows up. Rosa grows up her whole life with that weight over her shoulders, knowing that her father's this amazing guy, and she's kind of got to live up to his legend if anybody's going to take her seriously. And even when she does really well in Red Army Basic and all that, and then she gets into Spetsnaz and she becomes essentially the top female Spetsnaz agent in the Soviet Union. Even then, she still has this chip on her shoulder where she doesn't feel like she's good enough. She doesn't feel like she's good enough to lead. And she, in fact, has been placed in charge over the superhero group. She's essentially the superior of Minotaur, which some people who've read Minotaur, some people might be surprised by that, but that's a choice made by Diamond, because Diamond has his own backstory where he makes decisions based off of things that he's experienced in his life. So that's kind of the way I wrote this story, is not one where I was like, this has to happen here, and then these characters have to do this there, and how am I going to figure out how do we get to that point?
It's character driven.
Right. So I have situations. There are situations that occur, but then I'll write the situation and I'll have my list of characters who are involved in that situation, and I'll go, how do they all respond? And some of them don't respond well. Some of them die because they responded a bad way, but that's the way they would respond. So that's how I have to write it. So that's kind of how this story goes. That's how I write. That's not how I write every story, but that's how I've written this story. So yeah, Blue Rose, she's one of the first superhumans. If you scroll down a little bit, you guys will see Minotaur, who some people will remember from Phenomenal Tales Minotaur. We kind of told a little bit of backstory about him. why he is the way that he is. Um, and yeah, that's going to be, he's one of the characters I think a lot of people are going to like a lot.
Mm.
And yeah, so he's essentially, now he's got super strength and invulnerability, and who knows what else. We don't know what else quite yet. But as you can see, bullets kind of just, they don't really bounce off him, they kind of just embed in his skin. So he's not like invincible, but you know, he's very, very resilient. So yeah, and then there's a
Would
third
he be
person. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, would he be classified as a villain, even though I know you're trying to blur the lines a bit with this story between villain and hero? Like, would he be considered like evil to a degree?
Um, you haven't read Minotaur, right?
I have not.
Okay. It's
You
a
don't have
hard
to.
it's a hard thing to say. I mean, I guess I could do spoilers for Minotaur now. It's been
Oh,
so long.
I mean, you don't have to if you don't. If you want to keep people reading, I understand that.
I won't okay, I won't spoil Minotaur right now. Maybe I'll spoil it, after this issue is out and everything, but what I would say is this. He has been presented with a series of choices that none of them are good, and he had to make the best of his decision.
Okay.
So there are aspects of him that I've written into the character that I hopefully people will look at and go, wait a minute. And then there are other aspects of him that are noble and virtuous and self-sacrificial. And so
they're very human.
I would say it's very hard to say what he is, at least right now, as it is for a lot of the characters. The leader of the terrorist organization, who the boss, he essentially, he murders people regularly. So is he a villain? But the question is, why is he murdering people? Who is he killing? Why is he killing them? I don't want to say, there are heroes and villains in this story. There are, but I'm not going to tell people who they are. For the most part, I want people to decide that for themselves. Oh, what's up, Catalyst Vault? Nice to see you, man. That is not to say that every character in this story is like some gray, you know what I mean? Like they're all some gray form of, you don't know, like they're heroes are villains, that kind of thing. No. There are heroes and there are villains, but it's through their actions and not necessarily how they look that people will be able to discover who those people are.
Okay.
I know a lot of people assume, because it's the Soviet Union, that everybody in the Soviet Union is the bad guy. But then, thank you for scrolling down there. Then you see the lanterns. And the lanterns are all like Halloween horror themed. So it's like, are they the bad guys? Well, they're trying to overthrow the Soviet Union, and they're also like hyper Orthodox Christians. So,
oh wow,
are they the bad guys or are they not? All I can say is I've written both sides with humanity, and because I have noticed as society moves along here that there are like people choose to be like, okay, these are the good guys and these are the bad guys in real life. And they don't know the whole story of the other people that they've decided are evil, horrible people. And they don't know why people think what they think and why they do what they do. And I think that that's an important thing, as all of us, that we should be thinking about whenever if you have an enemy in your heart, somebody that you feel like, okay, it's all right to hate this person. Like, take a step back and be like, is it really all right to hate this person? There are types of people where it's all right to, this is the bad guy. I will say that. But the vast majority of humanity, the vast majority of people in the world, all they're trying to do is live their life. They're trying to provide for their family. They're trying to, you know what I mean? They're trying to do things that you and I do on a daily basis. And maybe their heritage or the religion they were raised in or lack of or whatever caused them to be a certain way that you don't like. But that doesn't mean that they're evil people. It just means that they're operating off of the information that they have at their disposal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I am totally picking up what you're putting down. Like I love that perspective. And it's one of those things where it's like, to me, the best villains are the villains that think they're doing something good.
All villains do. Like if you're writing like in real life, like all villains in real life think that they're doing something that's for the benefit of humanity.
Yes.
So, and some of them are horrible people, you know, horrible. They've done horrible things. Like Joseph Stalin, great example. He thought that he was going to they all thought the Soviet Union was this crazy revolutionary new thing that was going to change all of humanity. You know, we're done with all this bullshit of religion. We're moving on to just rationalism and science. We're going to change the world. There will be peace across the world. The Soviet Union will spread to the stars. Like this was their goal to essentially make peace on Earth by spreading the idea of communism. And
yep.
What he did is kill, what was it, like 30 million people by sending them to Siberia?
Yes.
It's horrible. He killed more people than Hitler. Nobody talks about that.
And it got to the point where like they were literally, it was like if you just felt bad, you were a traitor.
Right.
Because it's like, this is the paradise. You're supposed to be feeling good.
Right. and that's part of the seduction of humans trying to create utopia on Earth. They all think that everybody thinks that they can to a degree. Everybody thinks I'm going to change the world to make it perfect. And I don't know. This story isn't really about that idea so much as it is about, all in all, the story is about what is the truth. What's up, Art? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. This story, at its end, when we get to the 16th or 17th or 18th issue, I'm not sure how long that's going to stretch out, but it's somewhere between 14 to 17-ish issues long. When the story's all said and done, I hope that the thing people take from it is, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, judge my book by its covers because my covers are sick. But you can't just decide that somebody is evil based off of, where they grew up or what political party they affiliate with or, whatever, that kind of religion they're a part of. You can't just there's people who are bad everywhere and there's people who are really good everywhere. So that's kind of that's one of the themes of this. There's lots of themes, lots and lots of themes, but I don't want to give away some of the other ones because I want people to, hopefully, as this goes along and if it becomes successful and it continues and it gets to issue 17, people will be able to be like, oh shit, like Patrick was writing in these themes in issue 1 of these things that end up, culminating at the end of it all. That's the goal. I have rambled. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was gorgeous. Like that is the kind of stuff I want to hear. Like, that is because in a way I play around with a similar idea in Outlaw Nights, but not quite as sophisticatedly as you are. I'm just sort of playing around with the idea of like my main character. He's got this idea of who the good guys are and who the bad guys are.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of gets flipped on him because he's noticing like the guys he thinks are the heroes are acting in a way that's very underhanded and dishonorable, and vice versa. He's noticing there's an honor amongst the pirates,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But in many ways, it's sort of Outlaw Nights is sort of like he's being turned from sort of a hero into an anti-hero, I would say, because it's kind of like I was really drawn in particularly by the story of The Walking Dead in the fact that I loved how Rick goes from being straight-laced, all-around good guy cop, like county sheriff, to becoming pretty much feral. And I loved that concept of like that character arc of not becoming a better person, but becoming, like what you have to become to survive.
Yeah. Jaded by your situation almost.
And I would argue with Flip City that I don't think Hillary Clinton believes she's helping humanity, but I do believe that Klaus Schwab, as messed up as he thinks that what he's doing is good for all of us.
Yeah, I would say, Christy, these people in the highest levels of power, the average person underestimates the knowledge that those people have about things that you will never, ever hear about in your entire life. And I will give you a little hint, Christy. Hillary Clinton, there is a Freedom of Information Act released document that goes through a long, mostly boring list of information requests from individuals in the United States government. And Hillary Clinton, during, I think it was the Iraq invasion, requested information about the rejuvenation chamber of Gilgamesh.
Oh my God.
So what I would say, Christy, is that these people know much more about things that you and I have only tangential knowledge of. And so she might actually be thinking that she's doing what's best for humanity. I'm just saying, they know lots of things. Did you know that, Fuseboxx?
I did not.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And you know what's interesting is that we put all of our military bases during that time. Not all of them, but there were a few in those ruins. Kind of funny. It's like, why would you want to wait a minute? These old ruins that you're like kind of trying to like save, you know, you're trying to like keep them intact for historical purposes. And you're like, no, we're going to set up a military base here. Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, we're there for oil, guys. We're there for the terrorists. Sure.
We're totally not doing research.
Right. There's nothing over here that we desperately wanted to get our hands on and had to fabricate a whole thing to go get.
Oh my God.
Patrick said sarcastically.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist. I apologize.
Well, at the very least, they haven't found out that I am one of the many bastard sons of Zeus. So, you know.
Oh, you're lucky, man. He had a lot of bastard sons too, so.
I know. We're having a reunion. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Soviets, like, I've only learned about Soviet history in recent years, and I was shocked at how, like, yeah, we were never taught the death tolls.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the and I'm only going to say this about this subject, but a lot in Hollywood when they show Nazis and stuff, a lot of the way that the Gestapo and stuff act, the Nazis, that's actually how the Soviet, not to say the Nazis didn't. I'm not saying that necessarily. I'm just saying a lot of that comes from actually the Soviet Union and the way the Soviet Union, the NKVD, which eventually became the KGB, operated. That kind of like whispering on your neighbor shit. If you've read 1984, I mean, that was inspired by, not by Nazi Germany, but by the Soviet Union. That whole, you know, Big Brother's watching and all the children betraying their parents to the state, that kind of thing.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. The Soviet Union, and then think about that too, the fact that the Soviet Union was so horrible. It was way worse. I'm going to go on record and say way worse than Nazi Germany. And it lasted for way longer, and it caused way more death and suffering and horrible stuff across the world. I mean, not only did they do all the horrible things they did in their own country, but then they sent agents over here to destroy our education system, which
seems to have worked. Yeah.
Like, they did it. So, you know, like the Soviet Union was the evil empire of, you know, recent, and by recent I mean 1,000, 2,000 years history. And the fact that we don't get taught how diabolical and despicable those people were is it's kind of eye-opening, and it makes you question, like, why don't we learn about the Soviet Union and how horrible that was?
Well, the prevailing theory I've heard, which seems to ring true, is that it's because there are a lot of academics in this country that are very sympathetic to that ideology.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, we can't make them look bad because, you know,
right,
they were in pursuit of the paradise. The
paradise, right. And, you know, so I guess then to answer your question, well, you're unstated, but you know, the question of who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. I can give you the motivations of the antagonist and the protagonist. And they're not the main characters, which might seem weird to people. But they are they're the two people whose actions make the story go. And the main antagonist, if you scroll back up, would be Diamond. Scroll
This
all the way.
fella?
No, that's Pumpkin Man. Go all the way up.
So he's based on the character you created when you were a kid.
Yes.
I'm paying attention.
I'm surprised. Most people don't. That's Diamond right there. Diamond's goal is to perfect Sovietism, to conquer the world with Sovietism, and then to spread it to the stars. That's his goal.
So he's the good guy. I'm kidding.
If you're a fan of if you're a fan of Sovietism, yeah, he's the good guy. But if you think that Sovietism is a diabolical, nihilistic worldview, then he's probably not the good guy.
I love the design of that helmet.
Thank you.
I think and I love it. We don't really see his face in the book.
Mm-hmm. Never.
That's
well, not never, but not for a long time.
I love that because I think it's great to have it. It's almost like it covers his humanity.
Yes. And it's also kind of an homage, I would say. He's like an homage hybrid between Dr. Doom and Reed Richards. He has the intelligence of both of them. He's got the wordiness of Doom. Like the way he speaks is all very like Doom-esque, you know. He doesn't lord it over people like that because he's a comrade of the Soviet Union. You know what I mean? Like we're all equals in the Soviet Union, even though he kind of knows better. But you know what I mean? Like he doesn't lord it over people. He's not like, I'm your master. But he does talk down to people. He condescends to people. He speaks in a vocabulary that other people like don't even understand. Like there's many times where Minotaur will just be like he doesn't even know what Diamond is saying because Diamond's using words he's never heard. But that's his Diamond's goal is to essentially spread Sovietism to the stars, in all of that glory. I gotta stop myself from saying.
No, trust me, I get that.
And then if you scroll back down to Pumpkin Man is the protagonist. He's the guy who essentially is trying to overthrow the corrupt Soviet Union government. And he's in kind of a bind because I like I mentioned before, a lot of the lanterns, a lot of the counter-revolutionaries, they are extremely Orthodox Christian, obviously Russian Orthodox because they live in Russia. That's where they're from. And that was the religion that was being suppressed during that time. And so you can imagine you suppress somebody's religion for 50, 60 years. I mean, you know how it was in America, you know, the suppression of conservatism and conservative values that led to such a huge swing in the past presidential election. Well, that's kind of how it is here, except now it's manifested itself in armed rebellion, essentially. So Pumpkin Man represents the side of people who essentially just want freedom from the state. So you could call him an anarchist, kind of. They don't
a libertarian wet dream.
Yeah, kind of. They don't really, and to be honest with you, this is one of their flaws, and everybody's got flaws. The flaws with the Lanterns is that they want to overthrow the government, but they don't really have like anything set up to replace it. Like they just want to overthrow it because it is evil and immoral, which it may or may not be. But the point is, you know, maybe you should have something set up to go.
Yeah.
But, they don't really care about that. And you know, the reason they don't care about it is because they kind of see that as a stumbling block to the destruction of the state. So they look at themselves as like the tip of the spear. They don't really care what happens afterwards because they think that if they care too much about what happens afterwards and they focus too much on, you know, what are we going to replace this with, and what's the right type of government to have, and all this, that, and the other, that they're going to be distracted from their task. And if they're distracted from their task for 1 second, I mean, the Soviet Union is incredibly good at sniffing out and killing dissidents. So they have to be, their heads are on a swivel all the time. They're constantly in this state of paranoia, survival, and secrecy. So they really don't. They're not concerned with matters of the state, other than destroying the state. And so that's kind of where the lanterns come from. And you can call that good or you can call that evil. I mean, it depends on how you think about things. Like, do you think that overthrowing the Soviet Union would be a good thing, even though you've got nothing to replace it with? Is it right to kill people? Is it moral to kill people? Maybe people who, like I said before, they're just trying to support their families. They're just trying to pay, their taxes and go to their jobs. Is it right to kill those people in the name of the destruction of the Soviet Union? Who knows? I'm not one of those people who says I know that the answer to that question. But what I would say is that these guys have to contend with that moral quandary. They have to make that sacrifice of their own souls to get to the goal that they're looking for. And we'll see how it affects them as the comic goes on.
See this? Oh, you've sold me. Like, I get paid Friday. I'm gonna back this thing because you have this is the kind of story that I love. Like,
Thank you.
I love these moral quandaries, and I love the fact that in a lot of ways, like there are so many parallels you can draw from that to everything we've been experiencing in America.
Right. Because
I would argue, like a lot of the political commentators I listen to and all have brought up the fact that it's like a lot, in many ways, one of the weaknesses I find of like the conservative side of things is that it's like they want to stop the plans of globalism, but they don't quite know what to replace it with. It's like they kind of do, but it's like it's still like it's very disorganized, and I feel like there's going to be a little bit of turbulence from that.
Right.
And so that definitely parallels to what you're talking about with this story.
Or with other things in our life, like here's a good one, the whole Jeffrey Epstein list. I'm sorry if you don't want me to mention this on your show, I'll stop talking about it. But
oh no, it's fine.
This is a thing where it's like, and I'll just say this, in my estimation, it's the list should be released. End of story. Those who stand in the way of the complete unabridged list being released to the public for all eyes to see at any moment right now instantly are enemies of the people. That's the way I look at it. It's really what it comes down. It's very simple. There's no national security thing that should prevent. So then the question is, well, how do we get the list? And there's a lot of people who are like, well, we got to go through the proper, litigious channels. Right. We've got to do things the right way by the law. Well, the law is controlled by the enemy. So at that point, what are you going to do? You play the enemy's game and lose because he owns the game and created the game, or you don't play his game. And then the question is, well, now you're engaging in violence. So is that a moral thing to do? And that I think that's kind of where I came from for the lanterns for this, was that there's a great deal of things in our society and our culture across the whole world that could be resolved very quickly by motivated individuals. Is it moral for them to do so, though? Is it moral to take one's beliefs and operate with them outside of the law? We have been indoctrinated as a society to believe that the law is holy and good, when it's not necessarily that. Like, it's the law, but that doesn't mean that just because the law is the law that it's right or moral. And so the question is at what point do you say fuck the law and fuck the state? So that's kind of, they're both, to me, both of these characters, Diamond and Pumpkin Man, are like the two sides of the way I look at the world. So I guess if you're going to say, is there a self-insert? It's these two characters, because they're both the extremes. One of them is the extreme who believes in God, Pumpkin Man, and he's the one who wants to do all this overthrowing and all that stuff. And then there's the one who doesn't believe in God. And the one who doesn't believe in God is like, well, human rights. If God's not real, then your whole human rights thing is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is the utilitarian progression of the human species.
And it's also, and I would also add to that it also means that, it's like if there is no God, then literally order and stability are all controlled solely by humans.
Right.
Therefore, it's like you'll do whatever it takes to maintain that.
Right. And the humans who do maintain it and have the power to maintain it are God.
Exactly.
So, I mean, look, if I didn't believe in God, I would be Diamond. If I was way more violent and didn't have a family, and then yeah, I'd be Pumpkin Man. But here we like. So what I wanted to do is tell both sides, because that's how I feel. I mean, like if I didn't believe in God, I would 100% be like a cosmic Soviet, like like Diamond is. His belief comes from a real philosophical belief. I have a whole book on it. I read the whole book. Where is it? Where are we? Here we go. Sorry, this is my honeycomb box. I got it for $50. Everybody else can suck it. This is Russian Cosmism. It's not by Boris Groys. He just like combined all these essays by a bunch of different people. And Russian Cosmism started before the Soviet Union, actually. It was this idea that because before the Soviet Union, they were Orthodox Russian. And so that was the idea that, how would I put it? The kingdom of heaven will like spread out to all of the planets, and immortality will become a thing across all planets, and all people will come back to life. And so, if you're a Christian, you believe that your loved ones will come back to life. They'll have eternal life, or have eternal life right now. So that concept of, spreading that eternal life across the solar system and across all planets so that everybody everywhere is, living in essentially heaven, physical heaven. That idea was taken by the Soviets, and because they can't believe in God, they don't believe in God, it was changed to science. And science is the thing that will bring people immortality. So that's the first. There's at least 2 or 3 different essays in here that discuss immortality and how immortality for human beings is the first step towards Soviet cosmism. And then once you have immortality on the planet Earth, then what you do is, since people are now immortal and they can live for forever, you can send them to planets and, across the whole universe, and they can populate and provide Sovietism to the whole universe. And it goes even further after that. I mean, they get to a point where they're like, if science can make us immortal, then at a certain point, science can bring back all the dead people and make them immortal too. So then
And
the
there's
whole
people
universe,
trying.
the whole universe and every planet in the universe is populated by people who were dead, or people who are now immortal, or people who were always immortal, and they're all Soviets. And that's Soviet cosmism. And that's the defining belief that Diamond has. Whereas on the other side, Pumpkin Man's got the belief of Christianity. So, they're very similar beliefs, but they're separated by, some pretty stark beliefs in some pretty stark truths. God is real or God is not real.
Yes. And that ultimately determines who ultimately has the reins to decide eternal life or not.
Oh, yes, precisely. Precisely. Hey, do you mind if I run to the restroom real quick? I have to.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be
Yeah.
right back. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. Oh man. Woo. This is getting my blood pumping. This is the kind of conversation I've been dying for. It's deep. Oh, yeah. Hail Art Hida. Hail, hey Skelly Corpse. Yeah. I know that a lot of these guys are on Patrick's channel, which is cool. This is my channel, Fuseboxx. If you like anything, I have to say, why don't you go ahead and hit that sub button, And if you got a book you'd like to promote, by all means, hit me up, because I would love to have you on. I'm trying to get as many eyes on some good hidden gems. This story is whoa. Like, this is what I've been looking for. Like, wow. Eey, Skelly. Ooh. Well, that is true. Yes, they are. Socialists are. I call them diet communists. You know, they're the wishy-washy communists. They don't want to think that they're communists, but they are communists. Cannibal Island.
All right, I'm back.
I was just catching up with the chat.
Post emoji, U.S. finger, brick wall, Canada. What does that even mean?
Something to do with Canadians and building a wall, like South Park style. Oh man, but
well,
yeah.
I waxed poetic on this story. Those things, all the stuff we talked about, you won't find it in issue 2. I'm going to be honest with you. Like,
I mean, I figured, you know, but
droppings of like what the people think and stuff like that. And but in issue 2, it's primarily focused on, like I said, last issue, Diamond made the serum that made superhumans. During that time, the Lanterns came in and they stole a copy of the serum, but they came to find out that it doesn't, like, the serum itself that Diamond made doesn't actually like give you superpowers. You have to have a base sequence of DNA that it copies from. It's like a catalyst that copies that DNA sequence and then grafts it onto your DNA to give you superpowers. So the Lanterns are like, well, fuck, how do we, like, first of all, where did they get their powers from? Because, you know, Blue Rose has this thing called Plasrad that develops. It's not a real thing in real life. How does she do that? They don't know. How does Minotaur gain super strength, grow 3 feet, and invulnerability? They don't know. So the best they can do is find some sort of DNA that they can use and splice with the serum. So they go to the defunct Moscow Zoo, which you know, like, it's the post-apocalypse now. Nobody's really going to the zoo. It's been abandoned now for 30 plus, or 25 plus years. And so they go there to essentially scrape up as much animal DNA as they can. They've got a bead essentially on the Soviet Union would keep the DNA of the animals that it had access to in a vault. And so they're trying to go get to the vault and get the animal DNA so that they can give themselves superpowers so they can fight the Soviet Union. But that's what this whole issue is about, essentially.
Oh man. This is prime for getting picked up for a movie.
It would have to be like a
TV series.
Trilogy, or like probably a 6-part TV series. I think would be best.
Just remember to tell Netflix that you want to retain creative control.
Oh yeah, no one will ever get anything out of this story unless they give me complete creative control. There's no two ways about it.
I mean, Rose is pretty safe, but I mean, these guys, they're gonna end up either
Minotaur's
another race,
gonna be black.
Yes. One of them is gonna be either
and
trans,
gay.
Yes, and one of them's definitely gonna be trans, and that's gonna become a major story point.
Yes. So yeah, the covers we have here. This is the just spectacular cover by Paul Ravoche. Just absolutely. I mean, it gets to a point where words don't really describe things adequately, and so you just go, look at it. Would you just look at it? Like, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
and he's got a lot of symbolism that I asked him, but I didn't think, you talk to artists, and artists are, they're their own kind of animal. You let them do their thing. You know what I mean? When they do their thing and they do it best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you try to micromanage artists, first of all, they get uncomfortable to deal with. And then secondly, they get, it ruins their work. So he actually, though, took a lot of things that I had mentioned to him when we were talking about this cover, and he put them in there, a lot of symbolism in there that eagle-eyed viewers will be able to pick out. And I'm just like superbly, this is such a beautiful cover. I can't even. So
the major things that are catching my eye are the hammer sickle and this symbol. or is that the moon?
That's actually just a lamp.
Okay, never mind.
Although when I first saw it, yeah, I was like, wait, that's the moon. Because the moon actually, the moon is. You ever seen gosh, what's that movie called? I'm sorry, but anyway, the moon's kind of like its own. It's a recurring character in my story, essentially.
Then, you know,
Yeah, there's other things in there though. You'll see them if you zoom in, but I don't think you can.
I was mainly, and I was mainly picking up on your boy. I believe that's Minotaur.
Yeah, that's Minotaur in the background there.
Point got a sight on him from behind his back.
Exactly. Beautiful stuff. Good old Pumpkin Man.
Based on an older character who threw his limbs like bombs.
Right. Pumpkin Man does not do that. He does not do that. He doesn't have any powers. None of the Lanterns have powers before this issue, just so you guys know. This is a spectacular. This is the official cover of issue 2. All of the official covers of every phenomenon will be black and white. And this one is done by the amazing, the splendid, the stupendous, there's a good word, Peter Gilmore.
Oh, I know him.
Peter is he's a gem. He's really a fantastic guy. And I love working with him. He really is one of the easiest people to work with. Reminds me of 80s comics. Perfect. Oh, perfect. The movie. Yes, it does. I was really hoping that these comics would remind people of 80s, 90s comics. That's my goal. Because to me, that's like, because I grew up reading the 60s comics. I know I'm younger compared to these guys who were there when they were 30 and the 80s and the 90s stuff came out and they were like, this is the shit. Well, I am that way, not because I'm that age, but because I read things in the same order a lot of those guys did. You know what I mean? Like I didn't read modern comics until after I'd read the old ones. So I look at the 80s and the 90s as like this sweet spot of comics, and I want to try to.
Oh, I do too. Like yeah. I feel like there was that moment, not even just in American comics, but like in anime and manga. Like I feel like
90s anime is so good.
Yes.
Oh,
and I feel like that was like the perfect moment, and I was hoping they were going to build on that.
Right.
And it feels like they kind of went backwards with it.
Right. It's a weird thing. I feel like with comic books, they had that big old 90s, all these guys, Image and all these like illustrator extraordinaire kind of guys. And they're wonderfully talented. But they were, a lot of them, like Todd McFarlane, for instance, horrible writer. Like his writing is terrible. I'm sorry. It's not good. I tried to read his Spider-Man run. I cannot do it. I can't do it. It's so bad. The writing is so bad. And I will say too, some of these guys in the 90s, they got to a point where they were like kind of so full of their own art that they would like, it'd be like incomprehensible. The page would be like incomprehensible. You don't know what's going on because there's so much line work on it that you're like, wait, Lizard is there. Oh no, he's not. Oh, wait a minute. And so, anyway, I think that what happened was they're such beautiful art, but then coupled with such horrible stories. And there's a lot of horrible stories in the 90s. Let's be honest. That there was a hard turn over to writing, which is then where we get people like, Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Miller, the other guy, the other guy. And
that guy, yeah.
That guy, right. I knew you would know. And, those guys essentially turned it hardcore in the other direction and this is what I hear now from a lot of people, a lot of these professionals in Comicsgate, that there was this switch over to like, don't deviate from my script, and the script is the most important thing. And so it became, and the words, like there's far too many word bubbles in things. Like I was reading Secret Wars just the other day. I had not read it before. to be honest, I didn't like any of it. Like Brian Michael Bendis, I loved his work on Ultimate Spider-Man and Daredevil. That stuff was cool. But a lot of his other work, it's kind of flippant. It's a little blasé. It's a little there's far too many words on a page. Far too many. Such that it forces the illustrator to make like these awkward panels where there's a million panels on a page that you can't really make out anything that's going on, but essentially it's just people talking and talking in ways that could be reduced so that it would be more pleasing to the eye, which is part of the art form. So that's my goal, is to marry those two things. To marry the art is obviously hyper important. And the words are also very important. They're hyper important. People underestimate the writing and how important that is. But if you have shit writing, then you're not gonna get anywhere. And the idea is to combine both of those into a perfect medium, which I feel like we just missed. Like if the 90s happened, we had amazing art, and it could have like leveled out to amazing art and amazing story, but it leveled to amazing story, incomprehensible art. And then it essentially got shot in the head by leftists and Marxists. And, and then they shot the body 2 more times just for good measure. And now we have literally like art that I could fucking do if I spent, like, if you gave me a month to learn how to be an artist, I could do better art than some of these people working at Marvel. And then writing that is so cringy that it literally like makes you go like this when you read it. You're like,
oh yes,
no, it's horrible.
The beauty of modern mainstream comic writing is that, there's times where like I'll feel like kind of self-conscious about my writing, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I measure up. Then I read their stuff and I'm like, if these guys can get published, then the sky is the limit.
Right.
Like,
right.
But I mean, is there going to be an issue of phenomenon where all the characters are just sitting at a table for the whole issue, talking and eating?
Let me think about this. There's no issues where they're eating. That's actually funny you say that now that I'm thinking about that. Like I never actually saw them eating, which is funny.
See, that you have to do that. We'll never know that they consume food if you don't show us them sitting at a table for the whole book talking about their personal issues.
Exactly. You know what? The next issue is going to open up also with Minotaur taking a dump. So we all know that he does in fact take dumps, and that they're really big.
I was curious.
Yeah.
I was afraid that we wouldn't know.
Actually, no. It's funny you say that though, because there's I made a point to myself, because you read comic books these days and you're like, this is bullshit. Like, why? Where's the action? Where's the fighting? So I really made a concerted effort to, in every single issue, include a good bit of action. And by action, I mean like not just things are dramatic and things are tense. There's a lot of tense things that happen that sometimes would be considered action, but there's actual like fight scenes in almost I think it's every single issue. Every single issue I have a legitimate fight scene where something of value happens during the fight. And by of value, I mean like if 2 people go up against each other and they fight and then nobody gets hurt and then it separates and that's the end, that's not acceptable to me. Like I hate that.
No.
I don't like that. I want somebody's got to get injured. Somebody's got to die. There's got to be some sort of mortality involved here. Why are they fighting if they're not trying to kill each other? And if they're trying to kill each other, someone's going to get hurt. So it has to end that way. That's how it would end in real life. 2 men trying to kill each other. One of them is going to leave and one of them is not. And that's the end of it. This is, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I understand why people, in the serial issues, you don't want people to die so you can bring them back for the other issues. That's not a concern of mine in this comic. There are people who will be brought back after this story is done and I start the next one, which is a long, long time from now. It's not even worth talking about. But there are serious consequences to people engaging in combat in this story That's how it is in real life. That's how I like it to be. And it also makes the powers cooler, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Like, there's serious consequences in firefights between people with guns. Okay, that's cool. We can see that in a comic. We can see people die, they get shot, that kind of thing. Now we've introduced the concept of a woman who can literally throw this like globule of plasma at you and melt the bones, melt the skin off your fucking bones. Like, this is a different issue now. This is an entirely different problem that we have in our hands. And how is that going to operate within the real life context of you get shot and you die? So that's, I try to work that into everything. And in that regard, because of it's not an extensive background, but my, light background in kickboxing and Muay Thai, that's another thing that I bring into this. Like, when people engage in hand-to-hand combat, they're not just throwing random strikes that wouldn't really be thrown in real life. These are trained killers, and they're going to have technique, and they're going to throw things in technique. And so that's it's going to be shown in the comic book, and that's kind of part of it.
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
I keep talking. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm...
No, it's good. It's a good lordy. This
like... right here. This is the Frederick Gumont. If you ever watched the Comic State Commandos, he's a commando with me. He also is actually doing a show right now. He's got his Tuesday night show.
Oh, yeah. I talked to him just earlier today.
Yeah, Frederick is awesome, dude. He's really, really cool and very talented. He's got his own comic, Rattel, coming out pretty soon here. There's like on his website, he's got like all the things that he's completed and how far he is away from really getting everybody into it. But it's exciting. And it's a great story. I've read it, so it's nice to... It's cool. Anyway, he did this fantastic piece for me. This is the second printing of Minotaur, and it's just more symbolism here that he had read the issue by the time he made this. So he actually added some things in, which is pretty nice.
Oh, yes. Yes,
beautiful
indeed.
Stuff. And that's only $10. $10 for 24 pages of chromatically enhanced Phenomenal Tales. Phenomenon 2 actually is, it says 44 pages, but that's a minimum. Like, it's probably going to be more like 48, I would say.
So is that why? So that's why we've got the 5K goal, is to complete the book?
No.
Oh.
If this campaign ended tomorrow, people would still get 48 pages. Like, I'm
okay.
This is for me to like somewhat recoup printing and shipping costs, is essentially what it is.
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, I understand it's a small business. I'm not going to be making well, I'm realistic with myself. I'm just some dude that people have never heard of in their life. And so I have to prove to you that you should buy my comic book and that you should be interested in my story. And so even these first issues that don't make goal, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get your comic. That just means that, I'm out more money than I was out before, which is fine. Like, this is my life now. I have completely dedicated my life almost exclusively to this comic book. Like, there's very little else that I pay for or do with hobbies or anything. This is what all my money goes towards. Because I have to tell this story. That's what I was telling you before about the wind blowing the leaves. It was a feeling in my soul that I can't say no to it. Like, it has to occur. So, it doesn't matter how many people back this after today, you're going to get 44 to 48 pages of chromatically enhanced sci-fi thriller goodness. And then this story will continue until I either die or lose my job. One of those two things.
Well, the Soviets are working on a way to keep you alive. So
I think the Russians would really like my story if they were to read it, honestly. And I could translate it to Russian too. If I sat down and had enough time, I could do that. But, and I think they would like it because it, I actually do think Russians would like my story because it doesn't call everybody who is under the banner of Sovietism an evil person. It says, okay, like I said before, like what are your choices? What are you doing with your life? Are you an evil person, or are you just like in an evil system and trying to operate to the best of your ability within that system? So,
I mean, just beautiful. I'm definitely going to be back in this when I get paid. I got to catch up on all of it because I love this. And yeah,
Thank you.
everybody watching, we got the link in the chat, and it's also pinned in the chat as well. Everybody's everybody should back this. Like this is what we need from comics because I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of comics I've been seeing, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've seen that before. I feel like I've done that, and it's like, like I like comics that stimulate my mind, and this is a stimulating book. So
Thank you.
everybody, get on Fund My Comic, back Phenomenon issue number 2 today, and get caught up like me if you haven't read it before. Get number 1, get Phenomenal Tales. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. And yeah, man, is there anything else you want folks to know about it?
I guess I should just go through the rewards real quick.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
people know what options they have at their
that would
disposal.
probably be a good idea.
So obviously we've got the 3 covers that we showed here. We've got the cover A by Paul Ravoche. Phenomenon 2 is $15, guys, just so you know. Shipping in America is $8. It's more expensive if you're somewhere else. So you know how it is. Shipping is horrible internationally.
Yes.
But then we've got the black and white Phenomenon number 2 cover B by Peter Gilmore, and then we've got the chromatically enhanced edition of Peter Gilmore. Fantastic stuff. And then we have, obviously, if you missed Phenomenal Tales number 1, Minotaur, that's the backstory from Minotaur, the one of the first Soviet superhumans, that you can get right here for only $10 for the Frederick Guman cover. We've got 3 backers. I'd like to make that at least 10. This is a beautiful cover, and
it's fantastic price.
$10 and 24 pages. And honestly, it's 100% worth it, guys. If you're going to pick up, anything outside of the issue 2, pick this up as well, because again, it's the same creative team as issue 2. So if you like what you see on this campaign, it's going to be exactly the same quality that you're going to see in Minotaur. And Minotaur is kind of like a contained story. So you could read it by itself and you'd kind of have so this is how that works.
Well, he's what who was that Black Widow character? The Russian.
The Red Guardian.
Yeah, he's what the Red Guardian should have been.
Yes, he is, actually. And he's got a cooler costume. We get to see his specific costume next issue too. I'm so excited. This is I only have a few copies of these. These are from the last campaign left. This is the Peter Gilmore cover for Phenomenal Tales number 1. So it has doubled in price. Just so you guys are aware, anything on this campaign, if you don't get it on this campaign, it's going to double in price if I have extras next campaign.
That is epic.
So I would get, I only have 50 of those, as you can see there. I have 46 left, but that's as many as I've got, and that's as many as are going to exist. And honestly, if you don't get it now, like this cover is going to go up to $25 on the next campaign. So I like the old John Malin, like, you get it now or you never get it, or it's at a highly increased price. You know what I mean? Like, I like that. I think it's super cool to be like the
creating
people who back
incentive.
me. Well, it's also like if you back me today, if you back the Paul Ravoche cover today, no one is going to ever have that Paul Ravoche cover except for you, unless they get it at twice the price that you paid for it. So, I want to take care of the people who take care of me in the moment. So then if you keep scrolling down, we got this is issue number 1 of Phenomenon. Different artist in the interiors. He did actually all of the colors, all of the letters, and all of the inks. Tomas Kravash is his name. And it was just him and me back then. This cover, though, is by Jimmy Reyes. And it actually quite possibly is the last Jimmy Reyes cover ever to exist in comic books. I don't know what's going on.
Really?
I don't know if he's going to come back or what, but this is the last thing that's ever been released by anybody by Jimmy Reyes. So
Jimmy Reyes did the logo for my company.
Really?
Yeah, Fuseboxx Entertainment.
Wow. dude, I don't know what happened to him. He just one day he was like, I got to get right with God, and then he was like, done. And I'm just like, but you're a brilliant. I mean,
he can get right with God and draw.
I know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All I can say is, God. Hopefully, God blesses him, and hopefully he can come back to us. But as far as I'm aware, this is the last Jimmy Reyes cover in existence.
Dang.
So I have 30 of those, I think it is. So pick those up while you still can. And then if you keep scrolling down, we're going to have some bundle options here. So say you want, all of the 3 new covers for Phenomenon #2, you can get them all right there. And then if we keep going down, you can get all the new covers, which includes the Minotaur cover by Frederick Gaumont. And then if you keep scrolling down, we've got, oh yeah, I almost forgot about this one. This is the Lolos D, the variant cover. It was a weird thing. It just kind of popped up, and I got a cover by Vasilius Lolos, and then it's colored actually by Peter Gilmore. Surprisingly, some people might think Vasilius himself covered that, but no, it's actually Peter Gilmore. He was doing a kind of a Lolos style. So if you guys want to get this, now I understand a lot of people are like, I like the Lolos cover, but I want to get a lot of the other stuff, and I don't want to pay double for shipping. That's fair. If that's you, then DM me, or if you, I don't know how you want to contact me. You can contact me on YouTube through my channel PQVox, or you can DM me on Twitter. Patrick Quinlan is my name on Twitter. Shocking, I know. And I'll send you the code that gets you free shipping on this comic. So just what you do is you pay for whatever the main thing you want is first, and then you just tell me, hey, I want to add on the Lolos D. Everybody loves the Lolos D, so you can just message me, and I'll send you the code to get free shipping for that one. And then last but not least, the Ultimate Collection, which is all of these covers, and they're all signed. I know my signature isn't some big thing right now, but I will be hopefully, and I hope so I figured I'd sign all. You're paying $100 for comic books. I figured I'd sign them all anyway, and that's everything right there, with the exception of the Lolos D, which again, just message me for that. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to. And thank you everybody who's back so far. Oh, I should mention, we've already got to $2,000. So that means that everybody who backs this campaign is going to get a trading card by Salty, who's actually doing his closeout stream tonight for Silence Do Good. And that trading card, I put it up on Twitter so you guys can check it out up there. Everybody's going to get that for free. Whoever backs this comic book, doesn't matter what tier you back it at. And then you're also going to get, there's this beautiful Frederick Gaumont piece of Blue Rose, which is a picture of that is also up on X, which everybody is going to get as well. It's going to be the print that comes with the book. So,
oh God, yes. I mean, yeah, you got to hit 5K, because hopefully the fate of the world depends on it.
You may actually be like 100% true, but you don't know how true you are.
Because we need more content like this in books, in movies, in TV shows. We need more cerebral work. We used to get it, and people just gave up on it, and it's got to happen. But and real quick, we're pretty much getting to the point of signing off, but I wanted to really quickly, do my little plug-in for my own book.
Yes, you just launched this, didn't you?
I launched this about 10 days ago.
Yeah, I think I was listening to the channel when you were on Katie's channel, right?
Yep.
Yes, I was listening. I wasn't watching, but I was listening.
Yeah, this is Outlaw Knights issue #2. We're both on #2. And Outlaw Knights takes place in the 31st century. Humanity has begun colonizing into outer space. The nations of Earth are all at each other's throats, competing over territory and resources. History is very much repeating itself. It's a new discovering the new world phase. But at this point in time, the nations of Earth are very, how shall we say, tyrannical and domineering, which I think you can
Doesn't
understand.
sound familiar at all.
And so, but the further out into the outlands, aka space, that you go, the less of a grip they have, because space is too vast of a territory. So, as a result of that, there has been a huge boom in crime, specifically piracy. And yeah, it's a violent revolutionary time. And in the midst of all that, we've got our hero, Cyrus Lawson, who has had a pretty rough go of it in his young life, and he's settled on a small, out of the way, insignificant little colony called Therese. And he's joined the colony guard there, but he's not really expecting a lot of trouble. You know, like, who would want to go to a place like Therese? You know, there's nothing there. Well, right from the get-go of issue 1, his little small town fantasy is ripped right from under him as the pirates of the ship Hazard invade his settlement. They're looking for a special piece of data, and this data is going to lead to a treasure that everybody and their mothers got their eyes on. It is a huge rat race in the making. And so issue 2 picks up with our boy who has been kidnapped by said pirates. And now he's getting a firsthand look at the underworld of the 31st century. And he's having his very rigid sense of morality challenged, because the people he thought were, I think, the people he looked up to in his life, well, he's going to discover they're not quite as virtuous as they thought they were, and vice versa with the pirates he's dealing with. So yeah, we are almost funded, ladies and gents. We are
Very
like
nice.
right on the cusp. So we got to get that last minute push. I want this baby to take off, break through the atmosphere. See what I did there?
What are you only doing 28 days? One month?
At the moment, I'm probably going to extend it out another 30. And then and we're definitely going in demand if we can hit the goal, which I believe we are going to hit the goal, but you never know. But
I think you'll hit the goal. I think the art looks fantastic, and the story is very interesting.
Well, thank you. You know, but yeah, like our stories, they're kind of kindred spirits. Only I would say that yours is far more advanced in terms of cerebral. Like, you know, like you've got way more going on with themes. Mine is more, I'm trying to take a lot of the classic themes of pirate stories and kind of bring them into an updated, action-packed world. And I'm also combining different aspects of like cyberpunk, Western.
Yeah.
A little
Tell me
bit
you got a Long John Silver type character.
Somewhat. That's pretty much who Ivory is in a lot of ways. Only Ivory is, I would argue that Ivory is a much more honorable person.
Okay.
He's a pirate, but he lives by a specific code of ethics.
Does he have a peg leg, though? That's the real question.
No.
Oh, okay.
He has a cybernetic eye.
See, folks, look, this is why you should back this book already, because I said Long John Silver, and the average, like, pleb would be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy with the peg leg. Oh, this guy's got a peg leg. He's like Long John Silver. But see, Ben was thinking more on the lines of actual character.
Yes.
So he knows who Long John Silver is, and he knows. So that means Ben is versed in literature, which is good.
And also, you know, it's like Cyrus and Ivory, I would argue, in the series, they're kind of the heart of the story, because they kind of have that duality of Cyrus is very rigid and he's got a very strict sense of morality. And I would say that Ivory is very laid back and a little too laid back sometimes. And he's an alcoholic, which is going to come up. Which is going to come up later in the story, not in this issue, but it's going to become a problem. The thing is, he can pilot his ship, but he doesn't pilot his ship because he's always drunk. But yeah, I was just gonna play the trailer real
Yeah.
quick as my little sign off. Whoop. Let me stop it.
Very nice. I love that shot where he's throwing back the shot while like casually blowing the guy away.
Serpent is a gunslinger and a con man.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah, man. And I loved having you on. This has been a blast.
Thank
and
you. Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
I'd love to have you on again. Just like, if you want to come on, hang out, we can push the book, and we can also just chat about everything under the sun.
Yeah. I think that would be. I think you and I are on the same wavelength on a lot of things, and for this, I just kind of like, let me tell you about my comic. So it'd be cool to just talk about other things. That'd be cool. I think.
Oh, I love
But I'd also
talking
love
about
to have
all
you
of
on
it.
the Commandos too when you get a chance.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
I'll DM you, specific dates and all that. But after my campaign closes out, I'm like wide open, so we can figure something out, and then we can obviously promote this before. Let's see here. What's the day that it ends?
Well, tentatively it ends in about 18 days, but I mean, I'm going to extend it further.
So that's let's see here. That's 7/14. Well, I mean, if you're free on the 28th
Yeah,
May,
I think I can do that.
I have to double check my inbox to make sure I might have scheduled one person on this. I'll have to figure it out. But I'd like to get you on before your 18 days is over. The 21st is no. Actually, it would be the 21st is no good because that'll be right before I close my campaign. We'll figure it out. I'm sorry. We'll
all
figure it out.
good.
But I'd love to have you on before the 18 days is over and promote this and have people back it. So,
amen, man. And thank you, all of you watching so far. I think we got, I think we have like over 100 people watching.
awesome.
And thank you all so much for checking us out. If you like anything we had to say, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And heck, if you didn't like anything we had to say, if for some reason you're a globalist Soviet, go ahead and hit the dislike button, because whether you like it or hate it, it doesn't matter. It feeds us. This is what we live off of. Attention. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we will talk to you all later.